Sports fans, this is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes here live with my man SEC Sean of the SEC Sean podcast, ready to do the Texas A&M 2025 football season in review. SEC Sean, how you feeling this afternoon?
Pretty good, pretty good. Glad we could squeeze this in before everybody heads back to work next week. I know I caught the one you did yesterday with post game
Oh, yeah.
with the Notre Dame one and Melissa. I saw that one. I went back and rewatched that one. Good little insight there from those two on their team. I know they had mentioned during there that they did a season preview. Looking forward to doing that this coming year. If you ask me right now to give you my season preview for last year, I'd say we're going to go 11-2, make the playoff, and lose to Miami in the playoff. That's my preview for us for this year. So maybe if I can take that to the casino, I can win some money. I don't know. We'll have to look at that.
Hindsight is definitely 100%. That's for sure.
That's definitely it.
Well, let's go ahead and get right into it, and let's not waste any time because I really want to hear and get your opinion and thoughts on some of these questions that we have for you. How huge was that win over Notre Dame, week 2 in South Bend? And that win, did you feel like A&M was going to have 11 or 10 plus win season?
I didn't have us at 10 or 11 after that win. Still week 2. We still weren't sure what LSU was at that point. We weren't sure what South Carolina was yet at that point. There was still a lot of big games coming up on our schedule. So I was still at 9 and in the 9 range. I wasn't 8-4. I was 9-3 or better. But that win was a game A&M loses 2 years ago. That's a game that they didn't know how to win under Jimbo Fisher, even going back to Kevin Sumlin. They didn't know how to win those. They couldn't finish games like that. If A&M needed a last second drive to score a touchdown to win a game, it just wasn't going to happen under the previous regime. And that's what I see with the coaching staff, the culture change and the belief that we're not out of any game. We can be in any game we want, and we can win any game. I didn't really know about 10 or 11 wins at that point. I was really excited for the confidence it seemed to brew for the team and the proverbial getting the monkey off the back of, oh, wait, we can compete with good teams. We're a good team. That kind of mentality is what I took out of that game.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So let's turn our attentions to Marcel Reed. He played really good in that game. At that point, did you see how much he had improved? And also, what did he mean to A&M success this past season?
The crazy thing about that game was Reed played well if you look at stats, except for completion percentage. I think he was 17 for 37 for like 360 yards or something. It was insane. I will say to give some credit to Notre Dame, I think they were still trying to figure out defense at that point, and we kind of broke some explosive catches on them and stuff. So, but that early in the season, everybody's working on things. I noticed the difference with Marcel in the first game against UTSA. I could see the emphasis on passing. The previous year, last year, even you as a Texas fan, or even if we have anybody else jump on here that watched a lot of A&M last year, Marcel was run first, throw second. And the emphasis this year was throw first, run second. Now, I think towards the end of the season that hurt us, and we can get into that in a little bit, I'm sure. But I saw the progression. He seemed more accurate. He still had moments where he just doesn't get his feet set. And when his feet are not set, it's like every other quarterback. Some quarterbacks can get away with it. He can't. He needs to have his feet set right. But I saw the progression from week one, and I saw a different side of him, though. I saw more of that dog mentality of that comeback against Notre Dame. I mean, we were down, what was it, 24-7 at one point, I think, in the first half, and came back and took the lead, all on his, ability to just not give up and be a dog and just say, we're not going to lose. We're going to find a way to win this game. And, Le'Veon Moss, of course, helped out a lot at that point with 3 rushing touchdowns in the game. But to me, the maturity of Marcel Reed not panicking and switching back to typical Marcel of just running the ball, running the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Utilizing the growth of him to utilize the weapons around him is what I was really impressed with, and I fully expect you're going to see that even more next year.
Yeah, how big was it for them to go out and get Concepcion and Craver to bring those guys in to really help Marcel Reed in his maturation process?
Oh, huge, huge. Um, the year before we played y'all, the year before at Kyle Field, you had no Texas had no desire to guard the wide receivers. They didn't, and I'm and that's those guys have talent and they practice on the A&M side. They just weren't the guys that they were supposed to be coming out of high school. Noah Thomas, huge receiver, couldn't get open, didn't have the speed to separate. Everybody knew going into last year that was going to be the biggest need in the portal was getting some explosive wide receivers. I thought we were going to get one. I didn't expect us to get both of them. And when they both came in, and I was okay, well, now let's see, can Marcel Reed throw it to him? His progression has to match their production. So when I saw him starting to be able to find them and they were getting in open space and then the wiggle they had afterwards, that was a huge addition to A&M's offense that receivers didn't really want to go to A&M because under Jimbo, it was run the ball, throw it when we have to. Run the ball, throw it if we have to. And receivers don't want that in this day and age. You know, plus, if you watch them this year, not only were they exceptional with catching the ball and making people miss in explosive plays, they were blocking. You know, um, and that's I think culture. I think that's part of again the culture with Mike Elko is it's not we're not here for individual accolades. We're here to win championships.
Yeah. I thought his deep ball was a little bit underrated going into the season. Do you agree with that? Do you think it was underrated? Because this season he was able to hit the long ball. He had a nice touch.
If you go watch the beginning few games, there was I'm even going to say the first 3 games. Um, UTSA, Notre Dame, and um, Utah State. There was probably a handful of plays I can pinpoint um, that he just wasn't as accurate early in the year. He got better as the year went on. But the one that jumps to mind right away is the one to Concepcion in the Notre Dame game when he had to stop and come back at about the 3-yard line to catch it. And if that ball's thrown out in front, that's a touchdown. So, you know, hindsight 2020, we still scored on the possession, so it looks like a good play. But there was quite a few. If you go back and rewatch the first 3 games, you'll see quite a few overthrows on passes over 20 yards that you're just like, dude, that's a touchdown if he can hit him. It's a touchdown. You could have added 2 to 3 more touchdowns to every one of those games. But he
Yeah.
did get better at the end of the season. I will say that much.
Yeah. How elite was that running game this season? And if Le'Veon Moss and what's her name were healthy, how elite could it have gotten to?
It would have been one of the most feared rushing attacks in all of college football. It was part of one of the most feared offenses in college football. Um, we were one of a few teams averaging 200 yards passing and 200 yards rushing per game. Um, they were elite on both sides of the ball. I mean, Auburn. Everybody will tell you Auburn had a pretty good defense. They were terrible on offense, but they had a pretty good defense. And A&M put up 207 rushing and 207 passing on them. Um, I think it would have been an extremely elite of the elite. Like I mentioned it yesterday when we were talking about portal stuff about Moss was that thumper type who's going to break a bunch of tackles and wear out the D line, and then Owens is your Owens and Morrow were more of your let's get to the edge, or now that the middle's opened up, let's use our speed and just burst through for 10, 12-yard runs all the. But when Moss went down, it just kind of, even though we had a stable of running backs, it seems like when Moss went down, like the heartbeat of that running back room kind of went with him. And then Rubens wasn't perfectly healthy either. Um, saw some flashes from Emmett Smith's son, EJ Smith. He had some flashes there, which helped. But they're near the end. I don't know if Morrow got a little banged up as a true freshman or what, but he didn't play much against Texas or Miami. And to me, that kid I mean, he's got some elite potential. And he still does, being that he was just a freshman. But it just seems like we went to a two-back system, and we still had Amari Daniel sitting on the bench who had years of experience. You had Morrow. Like, again, I don't know if Morrow was hurt or not, but Daniels, Owens, and EJ Smith, with those three, you could have spaced it out, and then they're all three a little different. I mean, Daniels can still run you over and break tackles. So can EJ Smith. I just feel like Moss was the heart of that running back room, and when he went down, it's like they didn't know what to do. Um, I love Ruben Owens. I just don't know that Ruben Owens is ready to be RB1.
Yeah, I know Texas really benefited from the fact that Le'Veon Moss didn't play last year and he didn't play this year.
Yeah,
So that was definitely a benefit for Texas, him not playing for A&M these past 2 seasons. Uh, did you um did you have any concerns about the run game once Moss went down? And did that make Reed's legs that much more important the rest of the season?
it did. Um, it definitely made Reed's legs more important. The problem I have with that, and I looked at some of the questions coming up, so we'll get more into my problem with that here in a few minutes. Um, was it's almost like the emphasis to make him just throw the ball got too much. You almost took away his running. People weren't afraid of him running. Like when he would rant, like go back to the LSU game, like one of the first plays of the game, he drops back, doesn't like what he sees, and he just bolts 40 yards for a touchdown. That just wasn't there. We didn't try it against Texas. Didn't really. I mean, he did it a couple times against Texas, but that was more of necessity of trying to get away from Colin Simmons. But he he didn't look to run. He looked more like let me just move and throw the ball. Like that's what they wanted him to do, and he's he's not there yet. He's not that accurate of a passer. He's not a Julian Sand in the pocket. Okay, he is more like even a Vince Young. Can hit the ball once in a while, but you like him when he's running probably a little bit better. Um, so I was very very concerned when Moss went down. I mean, I say concerned. I thought we had enough stable there back there, but it just proved to me that Ruben Owens needs to take the step Marcel took this year, next year. Ruben Owens needs to realize I'm the man. This is my running back room. I am him, and take it over. Um, he he has to have that mentality, and if he gets that mentality, and Marcel has that mentality, it's going to be pretty nasty again on offense for us, I think. But we'll have to we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I was very concerned when Moss went down because I knew what it did to us last year.
For sure. Our man Mossberger, Level Up Sports 10. Thank you for that super chat. He said, "Good evening, homies. Great show." And just thinking about it, it all started from biscuits and gravy with hash browns and more. He
Yep.
said, "Love y'all." That's how we got in contact with our man SEC Sean. He was at Mossberg's job, and they got to talking about sports, and it's been on and popping ever since then. And SEC Sean has been a great addition to what we try to do here on all of our channels, from WTP Sports News to Level Up Sports 10 to Blitzburg to the Post Game 86 podcast, City League TV, the whole gamut. One Take Zay, all of us, man. So we appreciate Mossberg. Thank you again for that super chat. And thank you again for adding this addition, SEC Sean, to what we do here. Thanks again, bro.
Yeah, I was laughing about that the other day. Me and the wife. In fact, we went up there last night and grabbed some biscuits last night. Um, but I was sitting there and I was like, this is crazy that we had left. I want to say I don't even know where we were. We may have been at the barbecue joint I go to, watching something, a football game or something, and stopped in there or something. And he was there and we just started talking ball. And next thing you know, we go outside to get ready to head. We were there for like 3 hours talking ball. It was a slow night for them, so he had time. And then the next thing I'm in the comments with y'all, and then all of a sudden I get invited to be a real member, and and we just kind of take off from there. It's just crazy how things like that work out in my mind. I've mentioned it before too about what were the odds of having him run into a Texas A&M fan in Columbus, Ohio, to
Right.
bring on to go back and forth with you,
Yeah.
and even our buddy Doug when he joins us, um, you know, to bring that rivalry. I mean, so it was just crazy the way things worked out, but it's been fun. It's been a great time. I've enjoyed every second of it. Just trying to make us one of the better, groups of guys talking ball and all kinds of sports, and just make us something people look forward to listen to. Try to make it a little fun, make a little laugh, things like that. Just crazy how it started, though. He is 100% right.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So the Aggies are 11-1 at this point in the at that point of the season. The defense has been giving us some points in games, but they won. What concerns did you have about the defense this season, this past season?
The ability to get off the field, not necessarily third down. We had a really good third down defense. Um, the ability to stop the run when you had to, though. The run fits, how were managing the run game, just something was off. I don't know. I know Elko took back over the play calling for the defense this year. It's just that something was off. A player would go into gap A when the run was in gap B, or he go B and the run would go to A. Yeah, it was just something wasn't. That was the only concern I had, and I mentioned it numerous times. Our run defense has got to get better. If we can stop the run, if we can stop the run, there's not a team out there that we could have beat Miami, we could have beat Texas, we could have beat Ohio State. There was if we could have stopped the run. But that was my only concern. The rest of the defense, I was fine with. I knew if we could get you to third down, you were done. We were getting the ball back. Um, but when you get 4 yards on two runs right up the middle in a row, and then all of a sudden, you get somebody to break one tackle, and all of a sudden he's running for 40 yards. It just kind of takes the life out of the defense. So that was my only concern was the run fits and getting the run defense fixed. And I'm not. Well, we'll get into next year, I'm sure. But I've mentioned it too yesterday too. That's what I'm looking for us on the train in the portal. Speaking of which, breaking news for next year, we've already got one commit for next year.
Okay.
Tight end
Did you-
Houston Thomas out of UT San Antonio.
Okay. Cool,
Yeah,
cool, cool. They're probably a guy that they're very familiar with too, probably from his high school days. He probably played in Texas too.
he did. He was actually
So y'all get Cassius Howell, one of the nation's top pass rushers out of the portal. How huge was that pickup from the portal this season?
well, we got Texas Howell 2 years ago. We didn't get him last year. We got him 2 years ago out of Bowling Green, and um, he was huge. 2 years ago, he pretty much was a third down guy.
You're sounding a little bit choppy, SEC Sean.
What's that?
You sound a little choppy. You sound like Darth Vader.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Is that better?
Okay.
Is that better right there?
No, it still sounds the same.
All right, let me try to bounce out real quick and jump right back.
Okay, cool. Well, SEC Sean goes out and comes back in. I'll just go ahead and say a little bit more about how I feel about that defense of Cassius Howe and the impact that he had on that team, being able to have an edge guy who could, you know, rush the passer organically, doesn't need a bunch of blitzes and twisters and all that kind of stuff. Could just be the defense. I mean, the offensive tackle one on one was a huge addition for Texas A&M this past season, and I think he was one of the great additions that they had, especially somebody that they needed to replace Shamar Stewart, who was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals last year. So it was great to see them be able to get that pickup and bring him in to the fold. I think he's coming back in now. Let's see how his sound is. So go ahead, finish up on Cassius Howe and how he helped y'all's team this past season.
I'm trying to see is it better now?
No, it's still the same, but go ahead.
Um, he was there 2 years ago. Was a third down guy. Wasn't real good against the run, and then this year kind of took that step forward and became that menace as a pass rusher. Was a huge find coming from, like I said, Bowling Green. Um, Jumping into the SEC and becoming one of the top sack leaders in all of college football. Well, it was a pretty good find from the portal. Um, that's kind of where I first started noticing and really having a lot of belief in Elko and what he's trying to do, because it seems like he knows what he wants on his defense.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, who's your offensive and defensive MVPs this past season for your Aggies?
Defensive, it's got to be Cassius Howell. Um, just there's no if, ands, or buts about that. I give Cassius Howell. I mean, just with what he did, the he kind of made everybody else a little better on that D line because of the attention he commanded. Um, a close second would have been Torian York, though. I mean, to be a captain on a defense in the SEC, and he's been a captain since he was a freshman. That's that tells you a lot about that kid's intelligence. Um, so that would have been a close second, but it's got to be Cassius Howell. On the offensive side, Um, a lot of people will tell you the answer is Marcel Reed, but I disagree. I think the answer is KC Concepcion. Um, and it's probably a little biased because not only was Concepcion a really good receiver, but he was dynamic as a returner of the in the punt game. Um, I think he had 2 or 3 touchdowns on punt returns. Um, and I know that's not offense, but that's a spark for the offense. That gives everybody hype when you have a return. Um, you've seen it firsthand with Niblet. So um, to me, it's Concepcion, and it's probably Craver second, to be honest. I think those two made this offense what we had hoped it would be in previous years. And we finally saw it come to fruition this year. So those are my MVPs. Um, like I said, a lot of people are going to tell you Marcel Reed. I just don't. I I think without Concepcion and Craver, Marcel's not in that conversation.
Yeah, you mentioned Torian York, man, the linebacker for A&M, and I seen a little clip on him and his family, and how everything went down for him, making it to A&M um, as a true freshman when he got there a couple of years ago. How tell the audience a little bit about what kind of young man Torian York is.
Well, first off, he is one of the best people. Um, and you're not going to find a kid who works harder.
Yeah,
And he doesn't work harder for just himself. He pushes everybody to be better. Um, like I said, the kids from, Temple High School here in Texas. Temple is one of I think the second most winningest program in the state of Texas as far as games won. Um, he's um, he's just a. There's no other way to put it. He's just an Aggie. He believes in what A&M likes to stand for: loyalty, honesty, truth. It's a military school. Um, he's just one of the best kids. I saw him play when he was in high school. Um, and I was like, that kid's going to be a monster one day. And I never expected him to be at A&M. I thought he was too small for the SEC. But again, that just goes to show you. Go back in the day, everybody said Dat Win was a little bit too small to play NFL linebacker too, didn't they?
yeah,
He was pretty good. Um, so just a really, really, really good kid. Still hoping he comes back next year. I really hope they tell him his best interest is to come back. I think that kid could move himself into the top, second round maybe. Um, he just has a knack for he knows where the ball's going to be, and he seems to know how to read and diagnose offensive plays.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you on Torian York, man. He's a really, really good human being, man. And just when the clip that I seen about his story, man, and what he's doing, I hope that he comes back to A&M too, and go ahead and improve his draft stock going into the NFL next year. I really hope he comes back as well. I really like that Torian York guy. I really do. What's
That's
your
the
take on? Oh, you just gonna say something else?
Well, that's just what makes college football to me. It's not, it's not the Jeremiah Smiths, and I mean I don't mean that in a negative way against him or the Ryan Williams or the Malik Tonys, or it's the stories behind those kids. That's what makes it to me. Um, and that's what I like about our group of guys on these podcasts is we all kind of have different schools. So there's things they wouldn't know about Torian York or even a Ryan Niblett if we don't have this, person with that ties to the school. So
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. What's your take on former offensive coordinator now, Colin Klein, this past season?
well, I think you know my take on this. I'm glad he's gone. Um, I think Colin Klein is a hell of a coach. I think we made a massive mistake letting him stay to coach against Miami. I think we should have turned it over to somebody else. I think he had too much on his plate to do both jobs well. And I think you could see it if you look back at that Miami game. I mean, I know the wind was crazy there, and that's fine. That's all great. They had to play in it too. But if you saw that drive at the end of the game, people were like, where was this the whole game? if A&M played that offense the whole game, A&M probably beats Miami by 20.
Mhm.
But where was it? He was too conservative against Miami in my mind, and I think part of it is he was too busy between other duties he has at Kansas State, which is understandable. But that's why, to be honest, when it came out right before Ohio State played, Ryan Day came out and said, "No, I'm calling offensive plays. He's got too much on his plate." I think he saw what happened at A&M and realized, "No, we got to make sure we're locked in." Call it for what you want with the play calling on both teams, but I think Colin Klein is a great guy. I think he helped Marcel Reed a lot. There was a lot of speculation that Reed might be thinking about moving on to Kansas State, but I think he's staying at A&M obviously, but I think that was some speculation that he was going to go to K-State because of the growth he had. But I think some people in his corner might have said, not that he was even seriously considering it, but I think some people in his corner were like, look, the weapons you have around A&M are going to be better than the weapons you have at K-State. Um, your potential, your earning potential is higher at an A&M than it is at a K-State. Nothing against K-State. I don't want to make like I'm knocking teams here, but it's just a fact of the matter. Um, you can say that about numerous schools. So I wish Colin Klein well. I'm glad for him. I think that Avery Johnson kid at K-State's going to have a lot. I think you're going to see something out of him next year. But I just I don't like I don't like the conservative nature he got in making Marcel just stay in the pocket. I mean, Colin Klein was a running quarterback too, and he just kind of took that aspect away from Marcel. I didn't like that. And I'm hoping the new OC Holman Wiggins um, kind of goes back to that a little bit. So
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Avery Johnson over there at Kansas State, who is going to stay there for, I believe it's going to be his final year, and I'm hoping that Colin Klein can, because him and Marcel Reed have similar skill sets, so I'm hoping that he can do for Avery Johnson what he helped do with Marcel Reed,
right,
but sort of still make sure that you don't handicap his legs, because Avery Johnson is one heck of a runner of the football at that quarterback position for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Give us your thoughts on. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say he definitely is.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on Mike Elko, the head coach, in year two at A&M. How special has he been as a coach at A&M?
Phenomenal. There's no other word for me to put into it. Phenomenal. Um, Coming off the Jimbo Fisher, I want to say what were we 5-7 the last year under Jimbo. Um, with that team that Jimbo had recruited, you went 5-7. Um, that was the me era that I call it of A&M. It's all about me and me and me and me and me. This is the A&M era under Mike Elko. If It's kind of like what Kirby Smart said. Yeah, we'll give you a check, but you're going to earn it. It's kind of what I get with Elko. That stubbornness. That look, this is the way we're going to do it, and if you don't want to be here to do it this way, then you don't need to be here. You need to go somewhere else. No nonsense with him. If you'd have told me year two under Elko we'd be 11-2, I'd have probably called immediately to the local mental institution to see about having you with one of those light little tight jackets they like to give people, because I'll tell you, going into the season I had us 9-3, um, but my ceiling for us was even like 10-2. I didn't see us getting 11-2. I didn't see us in the playoff this year. I thought we'd make the playoff next year. Um, so under Mike Elko, it's phenomenal. I'm waiting to see what he's doing with all the. He's got to be doing something right because coaches are leaving. Every head coach will tell you the sign of a head coach, yes, is wins and losses, but it's also, do my guys get promoted? And they are. Um, so I'm trusting his process. I have full faith in Elko that he'll fix the defense. He's been there 2 years. What the whole thing used to be, and I know it's different with the portal and stuff, but you can even remember this back in the day. So can the other guys. When a coach got hired, what was the normal standard? 4 years, right?
4 years, yep.
Yeah. Well, we're in two. So, have faith in the process, trust the coach, and, we'll go from there. But I love what Elko's doing. I love the culture change. Um, I love the involvement that I see from the team with the community. I just think it's a huge, good all around get for everybody involved with A&M football. I think we made the right hire. I'm sure glad we left that one guy on the tarmac in Kentucky.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Anytime you hire a coach, the sign of the fact that you got a good coach is when the culture changes. And when the
Hmm.
culture changes, it turns into W's. So I'm glad that Mike Elko is there and he's having success as well.
Yeah, y'all went through it for a few years at Texas when y'all went through the whole Charlie Strong and
Tom
Tom
Herman,
Herman,
yeah,
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 and
man.
then
Yeah.
even so one bad coach hire can derail things for a few years, and y'all are back on track now under Sark, and I'm feeling like we're back on track where we should be as the two flagship schools in the state of Texas.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. What was your highest point for your Aggies this season?
I didn't have a highest point; I had a highest points. One, the win at Notre Dame. Two, the comeback against South Carolina. Um, that was actually probably three because I was pretty pissed off at that point and went and took a nap. I turned the game off. Um, Probably the second highest would have been running LSU out of their building. Um, that's always a fun thing for any fan base to do when you go to Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge is a hard place to play, and when you can empty it out in the third quarter, you've done something special. Those were the two highest points of the season for me by far. Yeah, easy. Those two for sure. I will say I was really impressed. This goes back to the Elko thing. I was really impressed with the way we had that stretch of three straight road games in the SEC, and everybody said we need to go 2-1. We need to go 2-1, and nobody said we're going to go 3-0, and then they wound up doing it. And that's kind of when I started getting real. Okay, this team's got something with them. But yeah, those were on my high points of the year.
You mentioned LSU, man, and now that they got a new coach, and of course this isn't a question about Texas A&M, but it's about LSU. How important is it going to be for? Because we just talked about if you don't have the right guy coaching your team and the culture isn't there, it doesn't transfer into the wins that you need. LSU now is bringing in Lane Kiffin. How important is it for LSU to turn this thing around and be competitive? Both of us being SEC guys, for them to be relevant in the SEC so that the SEC can start to close this gap that it looks like the Big Ten might be trying to create.
Well, um, first off, I can't stand Lane Kiffin. I'll just throw that out there real quick.
You might
Um,
be 2 billion people that agree with you.
well, um, and there'll be a lot more if he don't win at LSU. Uh, but the the thing with Kiffin is, and I'm gonna throw this out there real quick. There's a bunch of stuff online that I was reading before we jumped on too, since we're talking LSU, that Kiffin is blocking players from putting their names in the portal. Yeah,
What?
he's trying to block these offensive linemen from going into the portal. The players are coming out saying, "Turn in my paperwork, please." Yeah. Um,
Wow.
Well, here nor there, that may, we can verify that that's what's on social media. And that was actually from a player's Twitter account, though. So had the blue check mark and everything. So we'll see. But if he's doing that kind of stuff, that's a bad look for LSU right now. So I think we can all agree with this statement that there's a few select teams around the U.S. and in college football that when they're better, college football's better. Florida State's one. Nebraska's one. USC and LSU is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Penn State's another one. When those teams are good, college football is better. And a few of them have been down for a little bit, and that's it happens. It's the cycle of sports. But Kiffin better figure it out, because I don't hear a lot of buzz about LSU with all these portal players as you're used to hear with him at Ole Miss. So I don't know what to expect from LSU next year. We're going to wait and see. We will definitely have to do a preview for LSU, I think, probably for all the SEC with you, me, and Doug. But he better get some portal players, because they don't have a lot on that roster with what has already said they're entering the portal. Cade Durham's already entered the portal, too. They're running back. I expect him to probably land at SMU, to be honest. Local Dallas kid, Duncanville High School. But he better hit the portal right, because if he goes to LSU and they go 5-7 next year, brother, it ain't going to be pretty.
Yeah. They don't have an easy schedule either.
Nobody does next year.
Yeah, no, nobody does. You right about that.
Good
You
Lord.
right about that. What was most disappointing about this past 2025 season for you and your Texas A&M Aggies?
It's the last two games. I don't even know that the Texas game was as much disappointing as the Miami game. I know Texas is the rival and everything, but that Texas game, it really didn't mean anything for A&M. And I know that sounds bad, but it's the truth. You can say it's a rival and you're going to get up for your rival, but when you've never had the taste of the playoffs and the success, and everybody's been giving you high fives and love and pats on the back because you've made the playoff, even if you lose to Texas, and I'm not saying we weren't up for Texas, that's why they won. I'm not saying that at all. Texas played better that game than we did. I just don't think we were as focused in as we could have been. I think I heard some of that from Elko too, stating that maybe they were looking ahead a little bit to the playoff. And the way we played against Miami was probably my most disappointing, because that wasn't indicative of A&M football this past year. That looked like A&M football under Jimbo Fisher. That's really what it looked like. It looked like we regressed to that level. And I left a bad taste in my mouth the way the season ended. I was fine with it, with us, the way our season went and what doors we did knock down, but now we got to knock down more. But that was probably the most disappointing, just the way it ended, especially when we had 1st and goal at the 4-yard line to tie the game, and you don't even try to run the ball, and you still had 45 seconds with like no timeouts. I get it, but you're on the 4-yard line. You could probably do a zone read with Marcel and walk him into the end zone. So I didn't like all the play calling, but that was the most disappointing. But all in all, I mean, it is what it is. We got in the playoff. Now we go from there and build for the future.
Yeah. What is one of your goals? What is one of the goals you want Texas A&M to achieve next year? Then we'll go ahead and wrap up the show.
Make it to Atlanta. Yeah. That's goal number one. Make it to Atlanta. Don't care if we even win that game. Just make it there. with a 9-game SEC schedule next year, that may be a little bit more difficult to do for everybody, not just us, just everybody in general. But even not making it to Atlanta, putting our name in the mix to be in Atlanta, coming down to the last 2 games of the season against OU and Texas, which is not fair at all. Have a shot, be in the running for the SEC title at that point. Because I think I'm not going to say we need to go 11-2 or 12-1 next year to justify Elko. I just think we need to. I'd be fine with 9-3 next year if every game was competitive and we lost even a game here, a game there. Because I think next year you're going to have teams drop games they shouldn't, and you're going to have teams win games they shouldn't. Mm-hmm. I think the schedule is just going to be so brutal. Y'all. I don't know how y'all are going to survive.
It's going to be brutal.
That 8 straight games is going to
be brutal.
Oh my God! And it's not like your last game is against Kentucky. Your last game's against A&M after playing 8 straight.
Yeah.
I don't know that y'all are going to have anything in the tank. We're lucky and get a bye like 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before then.
Right.
But no, there's no excuses at this level of football, especially with everybody getting paid as much money as they are now. I just that's my goal for next year. My goal is to shore up the run defense, and let's continue the growth forward that we started building right now.
Yeah. I could definitely see that because the past 2 seasons, y'all were a game away from making the SEC championship game. So y'all right there where y'all need to be, for sure. Well, I appreciate you, SEC Sean, for jumping on such short notice.
No, it's all good.
Me today.
All good at all. I mean, everybody go enjoy the rest of the playoffs. Got the NFL playoffs cranking up here shortly. Got college basketball in full swing. I'm sure we'll have some chats on that, and I'm sure we're going to have some fun. We might have to try to do some little fun for March Madness,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I might have to put a bracket together for all of us and let us all just go at each other.
That'll work.
But yeah, so y'all go subscribe, everybody that's down there scrolling on the bottom. Appreciate you, Moss, again. Still got prayers out for you with everything going on with your family. So everybody have a good evening and be safe and cool and go watch some football. Some good games going on tonight. Some NFL games going on tonight. With a lot of meaning to them.
A lot of meaning.
So.
Yep.
All right, yes, I probably won't be on in the morning, but I know y'all gonna probably go in the morning. But Myles Garrett will break the sack record tomorrow.
I sure hope so. I'm rooting for him to do so.
Yep, I believe so. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I appreciate you letting me come on and talk a little A&M ball. And we may need to figure out how to reflip these roles and let me grill you on University of Texas this season last year.
Oh, definitely. You set it up. I'll be here to join you.
All right, we're definitely gonna get something set up to do a year in review. So.
Okay, cool.
Most definitely.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Oh, wait, hold on. We got breaking news here. Some of the coaches from Ole Miss are leaving to go to LSU this week.
I seen that. I was like, what?
Yeah, I just popped up on my notification at the top, so I wanted to throw that in case people didn't, yeah?
That's nuts.
You're going to the college football semifinal and you're going to leave. Whatever.
Wow, that's nuts. All right, have a good one.
All right, you too, Rob.
All right.
All right.